fundamental part of the Catholic, Christian, most denominations within the Catholics, Christian. The way everything is based on the death, burial, and resurrection, and Sunday worship being the Lord's Day. And Christianity has a lot of ties to Catholicism, whether you realize it or not. But so if it's all based on the death, burial, and resurrection and Sunday worship, let's check if that's correct. So Messiah, Yeshua, not Jesus. That was never his name. Anyway, it says in Daniel 9:27 that he was cut down in the middle of the week, and Matthew 28:1 shows that he rose from the dead before Sunday. It was the end of the Sabbath day, while it was still dark on the Sabbath day. And the Sabbath starts at Saturday dawn and Sunday dawn. Because God's people are children of the light and the day, not the darkness. Evening Sabbath is a Babylonian tradition of men. It's a Jewish tradition. So, you do Easter and you do Sunday worship because of this timeline, right? Well, he rose on Saturday, on the Sabbath day. The Sabbath day is the seventh day. Our current calendar, the seventh day is Saturday. And, nothing has been restored yet. We're not in the millennial reign. We're not in the new kingdom, but we can count 7 days. That's all you need to know. You don't need to learn the lunar Sabbath, anything like that. Just read, I always forget if it's Deuteronomy 6 or 5, but it says, you work 6 days, rest on the 7th. It's no more than that. It's just the 7th day. Don't make it more complicated than it is. What was I going to say? And there's a link to Jonah. As Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so will the Messiah be. 3 days and 3 nights. You do not get 3 days and 3 nights between Friday and Sunday. You do get 3 days and 3 nights between Wednesday, middle of the week, and Saturday, 7th day of the week. And it's all based on that. And the thing about it too is, why are you basing your faith on the death of the Messiah? You're glorifying his death. If someone you loved dies, do you just obsess over their death? Yeah, they died this way, and you maybe you wear a symbol of their death to remind yourself of their death, and you glorify their death instead of saying, oh yeah, they lived a great life, this is what they did, this is what they were like. No, you're just yeah, they died in this way, and it's just, Romans 5 tells us, we're justified by the death because he was a sacrificial lamb to end sacrificial law, so that now we just have to keep the 10 Commandments. That's mercy, not sacrifice. Hosea 6. But how much more are we saved by his life? We're supposed to follow in the footsteps of Yeshua. This whole religion behind this false Jesus character just says you go to church on Sunday, you do Christmas and Easter, you follow in the traditions of men, you don't worry about the commandments. That's just a suggestion. That's just the old law. Oh yeah. They confuse it with the law that was added for transgression. They say it's all the same thing. There were 2 laws, 2 mountains. Mount Horeb is where the 10 Commandments first came about. They were agreed to verbally. God spoke them to the people. Then they transgressed. Then they were given extra laws at Mount Sinai for punishment. That was the schoolmaster to bring people to Yeshua. So you divorce yourself from God when you commit idolatry, which is spiritual adultery. The only way to be reconciled, just according to the law, according to the law, if your partner cheated on you, committed adultery, they were polluted, you couldn't take them back. Yeshua died because that was the only way you could remarry. And I think it's Jeremiah 3, Jehovah says, return to me, I'm married to you. It's a spiritual symbol. We're married to Yeshua, Jehovah as well. You divorce yourself by idolatry, by following in the world, the ways of the world. You can be reconciled by keeping the covenants of promise, which are to keep the commandments, including stopping pagan idolatry like Christmas and Easter. You need to keep the Sabbath day holy, which what I mentioned before, no buying or selling. You study the Bible, you gather with others that are in the truth. And you don't do your own pleasure, like you don't do your own stuff. And you need to eat clean, so no unclean flesh, like pork, like shellfish, Isaiah 65:66. And you need to fulfill the royal law. Love your neighbor as yourself, which is to rebuke sin, to correct people, believers, so that they actually worship God according to his word instruction. Leviticus 19:15-18, James 2:8 and 9. I was going to try and make a quick video, but it's ended up long again. I'm not good at shorts. I probably should have talked more about the Sunday thing. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's in your Bible. If you want to obey God, which is the only way you enter into the kingdom, then you have to keep Sabbath holy. And, you might go to church on a Saturday. You might be a Seventh-day Adventist. Well, are we supposed to be of a denomination? Are we supposed to be divided and separated and everyone has a different doctrine? We're supposed to be united by the word. We're not supposed to be all different. And, you go to a church. All churches are corrupt. In the end days, there's a great falling away, a great apostasy. Read Jeremiah 23. That's talking about your pastors. What was I going to say? Also Sunday worship. Constantine changed the day of worship in honor of the sun. Worshipping the sun gods. There's like Mithras and Sol Invictus. I think there's another one. But anyway, sun gods. Because he was secretly still a pagan, even though he said he was now a Christian. He was... anyway. Sunday worship is sun worship. And keeping the Sabbath day holy, Saturday, is a sign that we are God's people. That is the mark we need to be worried about, God's mark. You don't need to worry about the mark of the beast, just worry that you have the mark of God. You still have to endure to the end. I'm not saying once saved, always saved, just because you believe, just because you even keep the commandments. You have to do certain things. You have to make sure you tell other people. You have to make sure you follow those covenants of promise and you don't willfully sin, or there's no sacrifice for you. But, what was I going to say? So Ezekiel 20:20. There's other examples too. That's the only one I can remember. That's a sign you're God's people, to keep his Sabbath day holy. Why does it say, remember the Sabbath day? Because people were going to forget. I didn't even know about the Sabbath until last year. I was 31. I didn't know the Messiah's name was Yeshua. I was 31. Like, that's insane. We have been lied to our whole lives. And you have to come out of the churches. Revelation 18:4. That's the great whore. It's also Babylon, but the lost sheep of the house of Israel are wandering through the Gentiles, through all nations. They were scattered. They wander from every high hill to every street corner, trying to find the truth, going from church to church, from synagogue to synagogue. Oh, I've come out of Christian church, so I think I should do the feast now and keep the whole law. You're going from one end to the other. All you have to do is keep the 10 Commandments, eat clean, tell others to do so. That's the true gospel, is to keep the 10 Commandments, eat clean, and tell other people to do so. A superstitious faith, a superstitious belief is not going to get you into the kingdom. If you are willfully ignorant, if you don't have a better, if you aren't counted ignorant, because you have access to the internet, you have a Bible, you can search these things out. Some people will be held in ignorance, but you won't be. And simply for the fact that I'm telling you this, you won't be. God, Jehovah, is going to raise up watchmen in the end days to warn the people, to blow the shofar, the trumpet. Not literally. Some people literally do that. They're not doing anything. It's to be seen. Yeah. So you've been warned. If you don't listen, if you think I'm just crazy, if you argue, go and check this with the Bible. Check what I'm saying. Test the spirits. But if you say, oh, no, I don't want to do that, because my pastor said we don't have to do that anymore, that's the old law. That's the Old Testament. Well, yeah, maybe your pastor lied to you, but you still had a responsibility to make sure they were telling the truth, to check with your Bible. You can't just say, oh, well, they told me. You should have gone and checked things for yourself. You're not a blind sheep. Well, you are if you have idolatry, but I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, your blood is on your own hands if you don't listen to this.